Hello and welcome to Game Junkie. For those that are just starting out watching us, this is our first stream and we're going to be playing the Captain of Industry game. Okay, so without further ado, I think we'll get right into it. So we're going to start a new game. For those of you that don't know the setup of this game, fundamentally it is all about setting up your little island from nothing and hopefully turning it into a thriving community of all things industry. So we have a number of options here to pick from. I've played most of them before. The one I haven't perhaps played as much of is the beach area, so I think we'll start with there. You've got various different game difficulties that you can select from. I think what we'll do is generally start off with standard. Obviously you can tailor these to each and every one's liking. So if we go on through to the options, we'll disable the tutorial goals for this one. Obviously I've played before, so I'm fairly happy with how to play it, and we'll jump right in. So it can be quite a demand on your processor and computer, so it does take a bit of time. So the opening page then is: Captain, we have found the island we've been searching for. It was not on the map. Our ship took a lot of damage and will need major repairs in order to sail again, but we should be quite safe here. Besides our initial supplies, we are starting from scratch. We should start manufacturing construction parts to be able to build our infrastructure, grow food to feed our people, and find a way to make fuel for our vehicles. The island looks abandoned, but there's plenty of natural resources that we can use. There are even some abandoned buildings nearby around we could disassemble for scrap. Also, we could set up a research lab and we can reinvent all the technologies we took for granted so long ago. We found out about our settlement nearby we can trade with. In case we run out of something, they can deliver goods to us via the trading dock. The entire crew is counting on you after everything we've been through together. Good luck. So, as you can probably take from that, we've been aboard the ship, stumbled across this small little island. As you can see, not the largest of lands. So the aim of the game, for those that don't know, it's all about setting up on the island and making something from nothing. So we have, if I just pause it there, we have quite a few limited resources. So we've got food up here. Will show that it's going to last about 56 months worth, and that will obviously depend upon the amount of settlers and workers you've got on the island. So this is the population window there. and this tells us the amount of housing capacity that we currently have, and that's purely made up from these small squares here, and they look to be almost like shipping containers adapted. So over in the middle of the screen, you've got our worker panel. That's obviously the amount of workers we've got available for deployment. The toolbox next to that is then the shipping status. So as you can see, shipping is docked. And then next to that is the amount of vehicles we've got available to take part in the logistics of the various operations that we will run. So as you can see, we've got 9 there out of a possible 60. This little excavator almost looking thing is actually a tree harvester, so that will go around the island and will essentially turn our wood into tradable items that we can then go on to craft. So we also have on the right hand side a number of little sort of stock symbols, if you like. So we've got coal, wood, iron, brick, cement, construction parts, and there's various different types of construction parts which we'll go on to later. I've also got the copper, diesel, potatoes, rubber, and vehicle parts. This one under here is our recipe tab. So currently these are all the various recipes for the various items that we can make. So currently we only have a limited number of items, but that will expand as we go throughout the game. So the one thing I haven't explained are the left areas and the right areas. The right is quite self-explanatory: date, weather, and the time speed, as well as your alerts and the sound notifications. So the one on the left, we've got this is our Unity. We can touch base a bit more on Unity a bit later on, but in short, if you think of it as positives almost, if we have positives from our little settlement, that gives us a bit of a surplus in Unity, and those Unity can buy you additional things, such as boosting industries. But again, this can all be explained at a later date. So without further ado, we'll go on to the bottom toolbar. So again, this will expand depending on our research that we unlock throughout the game. So again, you start off with a select few of items. So we've got our coal making here, blast furnace, and our metal caster. If we go on to our waste management, at the minute we've only got a waste smokestack that basically emits all the smoke away from our plant and machinery. At the minute we've got our molten channel, which is like an embedded conduit in the ground for, you guessed it, molten liquids. We've also then got our pipes which can connect steam, water, oil, and various other liquids. We've got a research lab. We've got our housing, food markets, and a waste collection, followed by a dumping zone. So the dumping zone, very briefly, is a tool that we can select to deliver various unwanted products. The most typical that you'll find that we need to get rid of is waste from the settlement. Obviously, the bigger the settlement, the more waste that is produced, etc., etc. So if we come over to the east side, as we're looking, is what I'll refer to as. You have different areas. So as you can see, the majority of this area is smooth and flat. Although when we come to this area, it's more contoured. So that is unusable land at this stage. And unlike most games where you could simply collect something, put it down, that won't let you put that on there because of the train status. So a lot of planning is actually needed to start the game. So again, at this moment in time, we don't have any production at this stage. So again, it's really wise not to start spending out on items that aren't necessarily necessary at this stage of the game. So what I like to do is start off initially by making some coal. So what we're going to do, this is only going to be a temporary building. So for the time being, we can just plonk that there anywhere. So what you'll see is this item here. It's going to take 20 construction parts. If we hit the purple button, that will use 0.9 of our Unity. And as I mentioned earlier on, Unity is what we collect for making positives for the settlement. The way that this game works is you can directly import and export via trucks, so they will come to this facility and either import from a previous building or export to the next building. So this will show the recipe on offer here. So in order to make 18 wood, it will take 1 minute and it will require 7.5 coal. And will also emit 6 exhaust gas. So again, if you wanted to say perhaps double the output from this machine, you could quite easily hit the boost. It will cost us 0.25 in Unity, and then it will duplicate or double the output. For example, if you hit that, once we're on pause, that will then double the 18 figure, double the 7.5, and double the 6. The 2 buttons at the bottom, we can at this stage pause the construction, so that means that that building won't actually be built until we're ready for it. We can hit the quick deliver button, which will essentially alleviate the trucks having to come all the way from the harbour or wherever your stockpiles are to deliver the items to your building. And it's just a bit of a quicker way, a more expedient way of getting the building built. Other buttons here, the priority here, you can hit the little icons and it'll give you a bit of a run through, but in short, this is the priority for the surrounding trucks for that building. So for example, what is the priority of having the coal taken from this machine to the next part of the system? Important things to note is 1 is the highest priority and 15 is the lowest. So again, similar sort of thing, but this is in relation to the specific construction element. So if you wanted this to be a priority build, you'd hit 1, and likewise if it's not as important, you can hit 15. Obviously this will only be really crucial if you're building a significant amount of buildings in one time. So we've got that there. What I'm happy to do at this stage then is we'll press the play. And then for example, I can show you here, we'll hit the quick deliver. As you can see, that's automatically then building that building. And it will tell you, for example, what is required at which end of the building. So when we get onto conveyor belts and things like that a bit later on, that's a bit more crucial to make sure you've got the correct orientation of your buildings. So what we will do, again, it's telling us then a smokestack is required on that part there. It's important to note with all machines that certainly where it's got things like exhaust gases, there's a slight sort of resilience built into the machines. So for example, if the smokestack isn't erected at that point, the machine can actually build up a slight amount, and you'll see a red bar that runs alongside each item, and that correlates to how much capacity is left within. So for example, if we hadn't put the smokestack there, what you'd find is that this building could perhaps run, and then all of a sudden it will stop working because there's no exhaust to funnel those gases through. So this building, as I say, is slightly unique in that the tree harvester there, and I think, to be fair, what will be easiest here is just to show you. So hitting the hotkey there, which is the H key, this will now give us a bit of a toolbar which we can select for the trees we want to remove. So if we highlight those trees there, what you'll see is the tree harvester shortly making its way over. As you can see, that's making its way over there. So just pressing the escape key now to go back and we select the tree harvester. You can see a number of options here. So initially, if we hit the navigation overlay, the green areas are the areas that this truck is able to navigate its way through. Green is obviously good, the red with the stripes, not so. Every vehicle within the game has a fuel capacity, so when we get onto generating diesel and things like that later on, it's important that we focus that in our minds, because if we run out with diesel, essentially we start to deteriorate, shall we say, and we move down the death spiral very, very quickly. And unless swift action is taken, the consequences of that are generally that it's a game fail and you lose. So, handily, the tree harvester is now telling us we've got an error. And that error is the fact that this tree harvester hasn't been assigned any trucks. So again, what we do to fix that is we hit the plus button there. It gives you a plus and minus, and obviously you can assign trucks as appropriate. So at this stage, we don't actually have a vehicle depot just yet. So most of these icons aren't actually valid. But you can hover over. So for example, this will send it to the vehicle depot and scrap it, and you get a bit of an incentive with our recycled parts. There's no operational vehicle depot, so again, if this was in place, this would send the truck back to the vehicle depot, almost a bit of a vehicle reset, if you like. And that's like a manual deployment, so you can hit on the map, and the vehicle in question will drive to that location. And then you've got your usual sort of buttons in terms of follow, and sort of, the normal sort of information icons. You can, if you wanted to, rename the vehicle, trucks, things like that, but again, I'm not too bothered about that. And then we've got the maintenance. So every building and truck requires some form of maintenance, and again, that's another avenue to sort of quickly go into that death spiral. For the first sort of phase of this game, as you can see there, the vehicle maintenance isn't actually valid. So it's just worth keeping an eye on these numbers here. So in short, what have we actually achieved then? So we've set up a coal maker that will eat 18 wood and produce 7.5 coal along with 6 exhaust steam. So the tree harvester will quite happily now just munch its way through all those selected trees until it's run out. And in turn, this is now generating as a nice chunk of coal. And you can see here that our stock supply has ever so slightly there gone up. In terms of our surplus stock, at this moment, it will place everything on our shipyard. Obviously, we are going to have to repair this, and when we repair it, it gives us access to a number of other functions, which again, we can explain a bit later on. So again, slightly separate from our shipyard, we've got our ship. This requires a crew of 15. You can load and unload the crew as you see fit, but obviously at this stage we need to repair the ship because it's at only 41% health, if you want to think of it that way. So what next, I hear you wonder? This is where forward planning is absolutely key. So for the time being, what I can do, and what I'm happy to do, is we can plonk down the waste collection, and we'll put that there. So just to get waste going, again, we will do the quick deliver there. And as you can see now, we are now 0.05% Unity growing, which is good. In fact, I do apologise. This is the Unity, so it's 1.55. This is health. So again, if, for example, there's too much pollution, your health will deteriorate. So again, the waste will be collected in this unit here until it gets to 200%, in which case it's then full to capacity and the settlement can't then produce any more waste. So to get around that, what we do is we hit our dumping designation, and for the time being, I think we can fill this sort of area and sort of square that bit off is the plan. So again, a number of hotkeys that you can see on the screen there. So if I press F, that will give us our flat terrain as opposed to the original one, which, as you can see, gives you a sort of incline, which is how you elevate your elevations within the game. So if we go down to the flat button, and it's a simple case of drag over to where you wish, so somewhere like that, and that's it. Those trucks now will start dumping in that area until it's one consistent level within that zone. So in terms of making industry then, as you can see here, the blast furnace will take iron scrap, coal, and that will take 1 minute, which produces 24 iron and 18 exhaust. And it'll also require 8 persons. So again, this game is all about optimization and efficiency. So it's no good, for example, having your blast furnace down there and then the next stage, i.e. the metal caster, which requires 12, 60 seconds later gives us 12 iron. You wouldn't want that all the way over there, because at this stage you would require your vehicles to take from point A to point B, and depending on them where stockpiles and warehouses and things like that are stored, you could then, for example, put that over here, and that clearly wouldn't be efficient. So what I would suggest at this stage, bearing in mind we now know the recipe that is iron scrap and coal, it needs to be reasonably close to where we're looking at working. Now, as I say, this function here of the coal maker is only a temporary fix, because eventually, once we've got the vehicle workshop planted, the next stage then would be to implement further creations of additional excavators, so that we can then start working on areas such as this, which is clearly a coal heat pipe, and then also this sort of area, which is your iron deposit. So again, it's also worth bearing in mind that our trucks and vehicles will only go down gradual declines or inclines to different levels. So you can already see there's different levels over here, for example. The clear route for this vehicle pathway would be coming right around the edge of the map, all the way up here, up the slope, onto this sort of second area of land. And then depending on the gradient, somehow would be up there. But again, if there wasn't a gradient, realistically that would require us to either landscape a slope or sort of do a dumping pile to the next level. And again, all that will become clear as we go through the game. So how are we doing with our tree making? So this icon here means that it's full. So at this time, there's nowhere for that truck to take any of those goods, because as you can see here, the red line, as we spoke about earlier, is absolutely full. So that truck now will just sit there and be dormant until there's a demand for the wood. So what I'm thinking is, if we go into our blast furnace, I am thinking somewhere sort of here for the wood, and the reason for that, as I say, is we will have coal reasonably close, as well as the iron ore, which at this stage it doesn't tell you, but iron ore is also another recipe which that will unlock fairly soon. So at the minute it's telling us about the iron scrap purely because we have this building over here that needs dismantling, and if you select that, as I say, you can then hit the start recycling. That will then start reducing this into scrap iron as well as bricks, which again is all part of further recipes. So if we go into the ironmongery thing, blast furnace, and again we've got a few options, so these can be quite intimidating to begin with, but worry not. So your R key will rotate, as well as the F key, which will flip, as you can see. These sort of things are more relevant as we go through. So it's important to get the right orientation, and again, you really don't want to start building things until you're happy with what you've got. As you go through the research tree, there are things such as copy and paste, cut and paste, blueprints, things like that, and that will really help how you plan out various services. But again, at this stage of the game, that's not necessarily an option at this stage. So again, if we hit that building there, if you're not sure, what I'd suggest is hit the pause key. That way nothing starts to get built and use those precious resources. Annoyingly, this tree hasn't been cut down yet, and obviously it won't be cut down because of the fact that the wood there. So what we will do is I will unpause that, and I'll just hit the quick deliver there. Therefore we'll use up a bit of coal, and the rest of that wood should go through the coal maker. And then once that's finished, we can go on to the next stage. So this is the metal caster. Bearing in mind, the metal caster will take 12 iron ore, and within a minute it will make 12 iron, and that's iron sheets or iron slabs. So what I would suggest at this stage is I'm going to flip it, so we've got the conveyor belt side coming out, and again this will all become clear. So what we don't want is we don't want too much of a distance between our little resource hub. So for example, if I put that one there, we then need to connect it with a molten channel. We'll go there, and again this also needs another smokestack, so we can leave that there. So what I will do, just to make sure that this tree is the next one to be cut down, I'm going to hold right click and just deselect these other trees, because otherwise what will happen is the tree harvester will go to those trees first. I just know it. So that is their building. So basically, as we know, this will make 24 every 60 seconds. This only consumes 12, so it's not necessarily efficient in terms of timing to have this running. So once this tree goes, we'll duplicate another one of these here. There we go, our first lot of iron ore has been smelted together with the coal to produce molten iron. That then goes into the metal caster, and it casts them into these sheets here. That's it, that tree's now being cut down nicely. What next, I hear you ask? So, might as well get some research underway. Again, these are only temporary buildings for the time being. And just to speed things up, I'm going to place initially 2, and I will just get those quick builds so they're good to go. So again, what we'll do is we'll bring up then the research tree. That's now given us another function or overlay tool screen thing, whatever you want to call it, underneath, and that will always illuminate in orange when there is no selected research. So at this stage, the research tree looks very good. Let me just go back and I'll get the tree harvester set up again because it's already telling me we've got no wood. So again, we'll just select those trees and the immediate surrounding areas just so that can be cracking on with that in the background. So you can click up here and already this tree, in terms of research tree, looks somewhat overwhelming. However, just to put things into context, this is the amount of research available to us. So quite a bit. And for those of you that are like me, I do get bored very easily. So I like to see that there's some goals that I can work to, because if I don't see that, generally I do get a little bit bored. So if we go back, how are they doing? Right, so they've both been built at this stage because these are sort of early phase research blocks. They don't actually require any additional input. As we move throughout the game, they will require specialist industries such as research. I can't remember the word actually now. Let's just call them research points, which we can make. So coming along nicely then are our iron slabs. So at the minute we're making iron slabs, but we don't have much use for them, other than what I'm hoping is the case is that these trucks are bringing the the iron back to the ship, so we can start to repair it, because then we send out the vessel to basically scavenge other islands and we win things and whatnot. So in terms of those three, we have them up and running. We have smokestacks for the relevant buildings. We've got all the molten channels and the pipes in place. We've also got our research labs. Again, at this stage, we don't need to expand any further. We've also built our waste collection point. So what we do need to do up here in terms of our research, so we've already got this. In terms of what we need to do is we need to start making construction parts. So we're going to start doing that. And again, the earlier the research, the quicker it tends to research. So what we will do is here, and then we'll go to basic farming just to keep up our food supply, because as I say, it's already at 37 months, which what was it before? 56. And then these will start stacking up the various areas. So we'll move to vehicles and mining after that. So as I say, just a bit of run through. These are your tools where you can copy and paste, cut, duplicate, and sort of group various buildings in one with a unity pause. That's handy when we're building large outputs at a time. And then moving through, we shall probably after this pick up power and maintenance. I don't tend to add too much to the research queue at one time because of scenarios at the time. You may wish to change that, and it's just a nightmare to close them all down. And then after that, we've got the various areas such as basic diesel. There's more advanced recipes later on that we can unlock, but at this stage that's a fundamental principle to unlock. The beacon, that basically attracts more dwellers to our settlement. We have our bricks production, which, as you'll see, once the construction unlocks shortly, we are required to make bricks to support the construction. And without further ado, so that now gives us a couple of more extra options. Sorry, general machines, that's what we're after. So at this stage, this is a manual assembly. There's different versions of assembly units, and again, the more advanced they are, the greater the recipes on offer, faster the times, etc, etc. So again, you can see here that's going to take 4 persons to work in this place, and that will give us the option of 3 recipes. So the first one is what we're interested in, and that is our construction parts. So what we'll look to do, again, what I would suggest is it's worthwhile giving an extra bit of space in between here and that, because you'll have ultimately 3 conveyor belts at a late stage and they can get quite tight to route in and do correctly. So I would suggest doing that. Again, quick deliver just to have speed. And then we can build another metal caster up here. Again, I'm going to flip it just so those look symmetrical. And then of course we're going to need our molten channel. I am a bit of a pain in terms of things looking nice, so please bear with. So that's going to be building nicely. Again, the cogs there just indicate we've not selected a recipe, so all we need to do is just hit that one there. You can select multiple recipes, and the arrows here just increase what the priority of that specific unit should be. So at this stage we don't need any mechanical parts, so I'm going to deselect that. And you do have the option here to deselect, so this will show you how much it will make. I think for ease and calculations it's just easy to have everything on 60 seconds, because otherwise, for example, this will say 40 seconds there, 40 seconds there, and say for example 20 there. So it's just easy for me, and I'd suggest the same for you. It's just have it on 60 so everything is the same. So again, at this low level of the game, you don't have too much options to help with your efficiency. So what I will say is, for the time being, and to get a good stockpile of items, we're just going to duplicate that once more and select the same recipe. So what should happen now is the metal caster will get rid of its internal reserves and the truck should start ferrying those to and from the various buildings. We've also now unlocked our food production, so what I'll do, again, it's quite a large piece, it requires quite a bit of flat land, so I'm just going to stick that somewhere over here with a plan of perhaps duplicating that once or twice. So as a rough guide, if I try and work out what's what, and I'll just give it a few more, perhaps something there. So that's not going to work because of that darn tree. So what I'll do is I'll do it as close as I can. And again, I'm just going to do a quick delivery on that just so we can start getting some crops underway, so we can ensure that our people don't starve, because that will cause us another problem. So if we look at our research then, so we're nearly there with the vehicles and mining. That will give us the option then to plant a vehicle depot and commence our building of our various excavators that we're going to need to start mining. The next one is obviously the power maintenance. Once the power maintenance starts, that's when our maintenance requirement will kick in. So just be mindful of that. So what are these charts telling us on the right hand side then? So because of the ones in red, that generally indicates that we've got a decline on various items. So for example here, because now we've got some consumption of the iron sheets, that's telling us that our stockpile is declining. We can't keep up with production. So this is where we just need to monitor. And again, our construction parts have declined because we've started to build various things and our manufacturing hasn't kept up with that. And the same process applies to the potatoes there, a gradual decline. Obviously, these should be rectified soon because we've built the farm up there, so that should start to grow again. And the same theory with the construction parts. So what we can do, once we've started to unlock the conveyor belts, etc., it'll be a case of we just route from this point to the next one, from here to the next one, and that's an automated process which will then free up these trucks to go on to serve other purposes. Right, so we've now got our vehicle depot. So again, what I would suggest is perhaps just sticking this somewhere completely out of the way. For the time being, somewhere there will do. And again, we can just hit the quick Unity function there. So research, where do we want to go next from here then? So I would say trading dock is a good thing because you get the trading dock, which allows you to trade with the other cities in sort of points of emergencies, crisis. Should we run out of, say, construction parts, etc., we can trade things like wood. We also got our Unix storage, and this will help out massively in a second, which you'll see. But essentially, just think of that as a bit of a warehouse. We can put that over here, and then our completed construction parts will sit in that warehouse. At this stage, the warehouse holds up. Excuse me. The warehouse will hold up to 180 construction parts. And that's obviously useful as we go throughout the game. So that's it. This process now will continue to go over and over and over, and that's pretty much a process setup. So the next area that we've unlocked is the mine control tower. So what I would suggest is don't put this too close to where we're going to start to dig, because what you will find, if we put our overlays on, some would say that's quite overwhelming. However, what this is telling us then is if we start with the browny grey colour, that's our area of coal. There are certain maths, I think each coloured band indicates how deep the coal surface is. So obviously it's deeper in some parts than others. The circular sort of bluey area would indicate a water source. So as long as you put a water pump anywhere within that area, that will extract the water from the ground. We've then got the bluey colour over here, which indicates our copper ore. Again, over here is sort of rock. The beigey, goldy, sandy colour is, believe it or not, sand. Black indicates oil. And again, red is our iron ore. And then here we have limestone, which is this sort of magnolia-ish colour. And that's it on this island. As you can see in the distance here, we do have a goldy colour. And yes, I bet you can't guess what it is. None other than gold itself. So that's when we get to the really advanced stuff that we're looking at, setting up sort of things such as microchips and that sort of thing to enable our robotics and rockets and whatever else. So if we turn off the overlays, what we will do is we'll put our control tower, as I say, not too close, rotate that, and I would say somewhere about there will do nicely. And we'll quick deliver that just again in the speed of time. If we go back over to our vehicle depository depot thingy bobby, we can click that one, and then we're going to ask for a excavator to be built, and again we'll quick deliver that just so we don't have to wait for the trucks to deliver 40 vehicle parts, then the iron, then the diesel, so on and so forth. So these do take a bit of time. That's why it's also good to have that done sooner or later. And I'm going to build 2 of these. The reason for that is because we're going to have the coal started to be excavated over there, as well as our iron ore just here. So again, at this stage, because this is still in the process of being dismantled, we've still got 632 iron scrap. That's not as much of a priority to start excavating the iron ore as it is the coal, because as soon as we've got the coal being excavated, we can essentially then demolish this here, because this at the minute is just eating our wood to produce the coal. the wood can be turned into bigger and better things, as we'll find out later on. So again, we have no research at this stage now, so what we will do is we'll get the bricks production underway. And what I'd like to do at this stage is go on to storage, because again, there's different types of storage methods for different items. So the warehouse facility that I was sort of talking about earlier on, that is only for goods essentially. This storage facility here is specifically related to loose items, such as gravel, sand, rock, that sort of thing. We do have other storage facilities. I'm just trying to think of where they are. But that will generally hold your liquids, oil, that sort of thing. So I think what we will do is after we've got bricks storage, we can then go to Beacon, because what I want to do is get to the ship dock repair, and we can stick that there. So that way we can send out our ships looking for different islands and processes. So these items up here, they just tell us the various items that we've unlocked, so we can just open and dismiss each of those. So again, the tree harvester up here has no trees to harvest, so what we'll do is we'll just give that a few more areas to work its magic through. And again, we've got a few more items down at the bottom now. So this is our trading dock. As I say, this is going to be key to enable us to start trading with other areas. I do find this is quite problematic at times to place, but once we find a place, we can put it somewhere. Right, there we go, that looks good to me. We just had a green spot there, so somewhere about there. Again, this can be quite consuming in terms of material, so this is 100 wood, and then that will enable us to start trading with the various areas. But obviously we can't trade with these areas until we've explored and essentially found them. So what hopefully should start to happen now is that the tree harvester is cutting down the trees. The truck with a sign will take it from the area of the harvest and hopefully bring it to this area. However, we've got to bear in mind that these also require 4.5 wood every 60 seconds. So we've now got our brick production plant. Let me just check how many we've actually got stored already. So we've got 128 bricks. So 128 bricks, and these take 6 every minute. Obviously, I'm conscious that these aren't actually in use at the minute, because as I say, the construction parts are maxed out over there. So what I would suggest at this stage we look to do then, again, our brickworks lives under the general machines. We've also got then the option now to have rainwater harvester. So this essentially gathers the rain water and we can use it at a later date. So again, this is only a temporary structure, so we can plonk that there. And I think realistically we are now simply waiting for wood to be transferred to and from. So these are the trucks that are going to be carrying our potatoes, and they will carry it from this facility all the way over to the market hall over here. And then once that stays stocked up, that will start to increase the current food supply at the top there. So that is being built. It's had its delivery of 20 construction parts. By the looks of it, it's just waiting for the wood now. What I might do for the time being, we'll just up the amount of trucks assigned to that tree harvester, just so it's not sat there doing nothing for the majority of its time. Also, the consequences there are there's not going to be as much truck capacity to ferry, for example, the iron to and from, and other materials, etc., etc. So again, if we wanted to, we could tell the trucks that this is the priority. At this stage, just because I want to start building up some water, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say that this is the priority, which means obviously all the wood will be taken from the tree harvester here to the rainwater harvester. So that's still munching its way through the trees, gives us a bit of a clearing in the area. So we just need another 10 wood. Which by the looks of it, hopefully is that truck there. So yeah, that's armed with 20. I'd imagine it's going to give us this 10 here and move on to the next one. So there we go. Incidentally, it's also now raining, so as soon as the scaffolding comes down, that should start to collect the water, and as if by magic. And then we should be coming over here, and the surplus is then dumped on that. How are we doing our excavators there? Yeah, so we've now got our excavator ready and waiting. So what we do to call that into action is we're going to hit the mining tower over there. We're going to hit +1 on there. And then also we're going to tell it it's to have a truck, and it has to have a minimum of 1 truck to be operational. So now we've got a mining tower, we can also again set a designation. So you can see this white box around this area. What that's telling you is everything within that white box is responsible for, it is essentially overlooked by this mining tower. Now, I hear you say, why is it that you told us not to worry about where this mining tower is built? Well, the reason for that is quite simply you can edit your area, and that can literally be anywhere. So it doesn't matter, but what you do need to do is ensure that all the mining areas that you want covered by this tower is within this box. Now, unfortunately, this box does have a maximum limit. You can't stretch across the whole map. That is as big as it goes. But for the time being, we're concentrating on that area there. So everything within now that yellow box is going to be operated by this tower, i.e. that excavator and that truck. What can be dumped here? So again, if you was to have any dumping zones set up within that yellow box, that basically governs what can be dropped off. So for example, if this dumping area was within this box, it would only allow these items to be dumped as a waste product. You can of course add extras as you see fit, and also notify ifs, etc. So again, same process applies. We'll go to our mining designation tool there, and as opposed to going down and excavating or up and elevating, what we do want to do here is again hit the F key, and we just want to simply level off that train initially. Again, that will instantly call into action the excavator along with the additional truck. What I will tell you already is that's going to need generally at least 2 at this stage, if not more, but again, you have to balance that with what the demand is. Interestingly, our second excavator has also now been built. I'm just going to request 2 more trucks just to essentially backfill the 2 we've lost to the coal mining over there. So again, same process applies really. We want to, in fact, before I do that, I'm going to show the unit storage. So this is the warehouse function that I basically described earlier on. So for the time being, we'll plonk that down there, quick delivery, and now we're going to tell the computer essentially what we're wanting to store within this. And for today's purposes, what we're going to be putting in there are our construction parts. That way it gives us a bit of leeway that we can get up to 180 construction parts stored here, and that will carry on making those until we've got sufficient stored. As you can see already, this truck here has just delivered a load and is already taking them elsewhere. Our water collection is also building up nicely, which is good. So going back to what I was going to show you, just if we go back to our mining areas. So again, I think we can dump that somewhere there, quick deliver, just at speed, hit our excavator and hit our truck. And then again, I'll just set up the mining area that we're going to be working with roughly. And we can again tell the mining tower what sort of areas we're looking to work in and what depths we need to go to, etc. One thing I did forget to show you on these is if you hit the excavator, you can also tell the excavation team, driver, whatever, what we're actually looking for as a priority. So in this case, iron ore, it generally should go and pick up the iron ore as a priority. And again, over here, we're going to tell it coal, because otherwise what you can see already is that is a mixed bag. So we've got 4 dirt particles as opposed to 6 coal. So now I've just told it to prioritize the coal. It will then actively move around looking for those areas of priority. So again, you can now see that our truck icon is showing busy, and that's simply because the amount of trucks ratio to the amount of jobs that are stacking, which you can hit that and it will show you the number of jobs that are stacking with various analyticals. But hopefully we will combat that slightly with the trucks we've ordered that are just being built as we speak. So again, I am conscious that we haven't got any bricks in the pipeline. Probably the next thing we'll focus on in a minute, if I'm honest. Diesel generators, again, that's going to generate us 800 kilowatts of power, but that'll also give us 3 pollution there, as well as consume 3 of our diesel. So again, at this stage, there's nothing that actually requires any power, so I don't want to start wasting our diesel and again having a negative impact on the settlement with introducing that pollution. So for the time being, we'll just keep it there. Again, working his way through, what I like to do over here is actually set up a storage point for the coal. So again, we'll tell it that coal is to be in there, and we'll just sort of drag that slider up there, and that's telling the trucks then that that's going to create a task of importing the coal to this location. And that is going to be quite a priority, because as you soon find out, once we start building pretty soon, the construction parts will really take a beating. So we need to keep that in flow. So again, our research now has gone through. We'll set up the basic diesel, and then we'll go to synthetic rubber, as well as our copper refinement, and that'll take us nicely onto construction parts too. So now it's telling me that we need 4 electric, but I'm not necessarily sure why. So again, now we've got 100 construction parts. I'm going to hit the repair dock. What that will mean is that will give us an extra storage bay facility, whatever, and then we can then move on to other things such as upgrading the ship, storing fuel, etc. At this stage, bearing in mind, got 92 people. We've only got capacity of 140. If the settlement becomes overcrowded, i.e. we have more than 140, again that has a huge negative impact on us. So again, what I will do is I'm just future planning here. So if I press pause, in fact, we shall tell the computer that we want rid of some of these trees here. So that'll give the harvester something to do. And now we've got the coal there. I'm just going to delete those items. I'll unpause it slightly. What I will do again is we'll get the construction element of the beacon put up there, and then I'm just going to pause that for the time being, because what I don't want is for that to be generating as loads of extra people when actually we've still got 28 people to utilize in some capacity. So I know for sure now that this requires 80 kilowatt. So we will start to perhaps introduce some power element. What I'm looking for now is the oil. I don't think we've actually unlocked the oil yet. No, okay, so what we'll do, no, it's okay, I'm just checking. So again, when it comes to our maintenance, I know, for example, that will require some mechanical parts, some electrical parts. 60 seconds later, it will generate 105 maintenance parts. So again, it's worth at this stage to perhaps start building or catering for that. So I'm going to plonk that there somewhere. We'll stick that there, because again, when we come to our assembly parts, you can already see that that's requiring 7 iron sheets, which in turn turns it to 6 mechanical parts, which is one of the elements required for this recipe. I'm just going to open this up here. Right, so we have got the biodiesel function. Ah yes, there we are. So whilst that's tickety-boon, so we've got 309 diesel parts there. I'm just going to hit the repair function. So again, that'll also take 124 iron parts over here to repair the ship. So now looking over here, and I know already that we've got the overlay of the oil within that little spot there. So to get that up and running, what I will probably look to do is, again, have something like that. That's the oil pump. What is good with this little bit that we've unlocked now is, if I can find it, it's in storage. Also unlocks our fluid storage. So what I would always suggest is, bearing in mind we're going to have at least 2 oil pumps, if not more, is to have this pumping to a bit of a storage unit, just so that could start building up a bit of a stockpile of that. So again, it's worth bearing in mind that what we're looking to do with this oil is turning that into diesel. The diesel generator again consumes oil, diesel. So that's already one thing that it's going to be connected over here. The good part around the diesel generator is it doesn't have any sort of vicinity of power consumption. So what it means is you can place your diesel generators anywhere within the map, and it almost magically powers any unit on this island, which is good, because if that introduced sort of proximities and things like that, it could get very messy. So we then have to introduce again the basic distiller, and that will take 54 crude oil, 6 coal. A minute later, we'll produce 24 diesel, wastewater, which is a new concept, as well as 36 exhaust. So, again, looks quite overwhelming, nothing to worry about, but I would perhaps just leave something like that. And then we can start connecting up the various pipework. And again, I'll just try and keep it nice, simple, to the point. We know that this is going to need a smokestack there. And then what we can do is we can look to, say, build, in fact, what I'll do it the other way around, so we can put our fluid storage somewhere like that. And then we can connect up our pipes. If you hold control, it puts things in nice little angles if you don't like the way that the auto pipe connects, which is good. So again, what this will then create is oil from the oil pump into the oil well, if you like, the storage facility. It will then take through the pipe, through the basic distiller, where it will give us our diesel, which will hopefully store and accumulate there. It will give us our wastewater, which we haven't done anything about just yet, as well as our 36 smoke through the stack. So the wastewater. So that's a new tool over here, which is the liquid dump. And if we just rotate that around nicely, what this will allow us to do is if we plonk that just there, that will literally dump any liquids we don't want. You got it, into the sea. One thing we haven't looked at as yet is the elevation of various items. So if we connect there with the E key, I generally try and take things as high as we possibly can. That way trucks, etc., everything else can pass underneath. Another useful tip is if you hold the shift key, it will stop going, across. It keeps everything in a line essentially. So without the shift, you can do what you want to your destination, and the pipe work automatically routes itself. Whereas if you hold shift, it's almost perpendicular to the line you wish to do. So I'm going to just take that across that way, and then we can connect it nicely to the diesel. In fact, I don't want to do that. Ignore me. So we're going from the pipe back up to the max, holding that shift key all the way across and across, and this is wastewater. We want to be pumping our valuable diesel into the sea. So that should work now that we've got our diesel generators. And again, I'll just give a bit of space there, and I'm going to plug that straight in, just so that this new industry will get up and running. So for example, now we're not able to quick deliver. That's one of two reasons generally, and I can see it's not already the fact that we haven't got the Unity, but we have clearly up here, but that will probably be because we haven't got the sufficient parts in terms of our construction material. So now we can hit the quick deliver, and that will automatically build that for us. So again, I'm not too fussed about getting the liquid dump set up just yet, just because this will have a bit of resilience of building up the wastewater before it clogs up. So this is waiting for a truck to bring over the diesel before that will switch on and then enable the pump to start, which in turn will pump the oil into the distillery, so on and so forth. So again, the trucks now are back to that extremely busy status. So I'm just going to request 2 more trucks to be ordered. What's handy now with this recent update is that as opposed to having to click each item to work out what it's holding and also what the capacity is, it now tells you on the top, which that icon there is the construction parts. So interestingly, it also tells you how many items you've got as a rough guide along the building edge there. Good indication. So we've now got the notification now that the ship has been fully repaired. So what that should enable us to do now is load up the crew, bang. The only issue with that, of course, is now that's left us with absolutely no one left to deploy to other tasks. So what we will do is we'll unpause that now, and that will take us 3 months to get 14 refugees. Already now we are at a deficit of workers. So the good thing about this is we can open up, unload the crew, and that will now give us a bit of a pool, and then perhaps we can look to reload the ship once the refugees have landed from the beacon. So again, what I'm going to do is the priority here is quite low, so just for the time being we'll hit that to in fact not that one, that one's slightly different. This one interestingly is all about the production. So if you've got a series of generators, it's essentially which order kicks in first. So we'll just wait for some of the diesel to be brought over. Obviously the truck status is extremely busy, but here is our truck hopefully making its way over to the generator, which in turn will allow some electricity to be brought to enable the beacon over there, as well as our oil pump, in which turn should allow things to start turning, and as if by magic. So we've now got our oil pump pumping, which in turn will fill up the fluid storage nicely, and we can start to begin our manufacturing process of diesel. So you can see the nice little beacon going around looking for any people that can lend a hand on our little island. So the one thing we haven't started to look at now, and we are almost getting desperately close, is the bricks element, and we can start looking at that shortly. But then saying that, we've still got 444 bricks to dismantle from this area, so it's not perhaps as bad as we first thought. So as you can see, top right, we've got our maintenance building up now. Useful point to memorise here is that if that drops below 50, generally that's where our trucks and things start breaking down. And if we get trucks breaking down, again, it's another entry into that death spiral where it's very difficult to get out unless swift action is taken. So looking at this, I would suggest that probably we're not making as much construction parts as we perhaps need to, just because, again, oh no. So yeah, I was about to say our construction parts aren't great, which they're not in fairness. However, looking at it, it's actually our iron that's holding us up. And probably the root cause to that, clearly it's not the coal element, because that is the best part full. It's probably going to be the iron ore, which it is. And the reason for that is because, as I say, it has some sand in there, and we haven't actually allowed any areas to pick up sand. So what I do to generally get around that is, again, loose storage somewhere in the vicinity. Doesn't have to be any particular orientation. We'll tell that we can say that that can be kept there. Obviously that's now not building because we don't have the 30 construction parts, so again it's a bit of a patient waiting sort of game. And what's now happening is obviously we're waiting for these units to build up the relevant materials. So we now also have our rubber making facility. So, oh, we didn't actually set that earlier on. So we can hit the wastewater. So for the time being, until that pipe's generated, the wastewater as a sort of emergency contingency can be taken by truck. But the pipe's there now anyway, so this should start to fill up with wastewater through that process. Diesel in there. So what I'll do to speed this up, again, this is quite a thirsty machine. As we unlock more processes later, we do get more refined machinery and processes and recipes to make that more efficient. But for the time being, it's quite a thirsty process in terms of 54 crude oil, because this takes 54 crude oil and this only makes 18. So you do the maths, we're at a bit of a deficit. So again, what we can do here is we will perhaps make another one if I can find it. So I'm going to press the F key and rotate just so it's nice and symmetrical. Plonk that just there and connect it up with the pipes. That should start to increase the amount of oil available. Again, some of the elements of this game can be a little bit of a waiting game. So hopefully now that the sand can be dropped off here, I am slightly loath just to dump it over the side because sand is a bit of a valuable asset, shall we say. So towards the end of the game, where we're looking at making things such as, I think it's cement and glass and things like that, you need a lot of sand. And obviously there isn't that much sand to actually look at because this will all be consumed pretty much by buildings. So you've got sort of these areas and the coastline and things like that, but it will soon be utilised, that's for sure. So once that's up and going, that should hopefully utilise the distillery. So now what's happening is obviously all these trucks are bringing the diesel from the shipyard to store in this area here. Which is great because we don't like to have, I know I'm just going to hit the keep emptied because once we start sending the ship out, it won't let us unload too much at one time if this is all full. So I do try and keep this empty where we can. which should mean all the diesel will be exported, the wood will be sent away, as well as the bricks, etc. So cargo docks we don't need to worry about. Again, any item there with a yellow blob on generally means we haven't looked at that item before. So another interesting point to make over here now is the rubber maker. And again, this relies on diesel and coal, so my suggestion would be keep this fairly simple. And I'm just going to rotate that just so we've got the pipes and things on the right sort of place. You can stick that just there. And again, we'll connect up all the pipe works. And we'll take that straight up, and that can connect to that pipe also. So one thing to bear in mind with pipes, as well as conveyors, they have a capacity. So for example here, this will only take 60 units every 60 seconds. Obviously you can get bigger pipes, which can have a bigger flow rate and capacity, things like that. Consequently, if you don't consider that, your pipes will back up and cause further issues. So it's just worth bearing that in mind. Just so we don't sort of stray too far away from the beginnings, what I will do is I will look to implement the fuel station, conveyor belts, and also the tools. So the fuel station essentially is an area that we can connect up to the diesel network and allocate a truck similar to that sort of type truck, and that's sort of the sole job for that truck is to go out and fill the excavators, because currently what happens is the excavators have to require themselves to drive all the way to the fuel tank over here to drive all the way back. Obviously they're not the fastest things in the world, so that's not really efficient to have that do that. So again, we've consumed all the trees, so we just need to set a new area of the zombie, and I'm just going to select down there. Oh, it didn't hit the that one. We'll do that one as well. So in terms of the iron production, as you can see, we've increased that gradually. And imagine now this is just a case of just waiting for the items to be made. So what I will do is we'll build another warehouse, because I think what's slowing us down slightly now, I mean ideally it would have been great if I left the gap big enough for that. Obviously I haven't done that, so what I can and will do is we can just add it there. Not ideal, but it is what it is. And we will say that that is going to be our iron. Obviously this makes 24 between the two of them, and we're only actually consuming the best part of 9 every minute, so we've got a bit of capacity there. Yeah, so that truck, obviously it can't offload anything, because presumably that's going to be full with iron ore. In fact, it's not, because we haven't selected the iron ore recipe. So there we go. That truck now will start to deposit its iron ore within that facility. Now, bearing in mind, this now has introduced an extra problem, in that it takes 24 iron ore. It takes the same amount of coal as the iron scrap recipe, and it still delivers the same amount of molten iron within 60 seconds, but it now introduces slag, and it also introduces an additional exhaust gas. So just worth bearing in mind, obviously the iron scrap is a better option in that you don't have to worry about the slag element as well as the additional exhaust. But once our iron scrap has gone from this building, we don't actually get the facility to recycle metals until somewhere in the game. So this is initially only an option for a short amount of time before you're then forced upon accepting the iron ore. So again, that's working its way through. What we will do is we will create another one of the, in fact, we won't for the time being. What we will do is we'll upgrade. And now that's instantaneously not going to allow me to upgrade. And the reason for that is because we need to create, how many? We need 18 construction parts 2s. So for the time being, yeah, we'll create another one of those then. And we'll have that do our construction parts. Just so we can again start to increase the amount of construction parts available. At the minute we've only got 15. So just in the process of the stream, we will just speed up time for the time being. That there was bringing up the electronic side of things. What I shouldn't have done, I don't think, is upgrade this until we had enough construction parts, but it'll be fine. Just a slight delay. Again, we're going to prioritise this over everything else, just so we can start building up those construction parts. Because in theory, what's going to happen is this will be our basic construction parts that feed into the warehouse, and then from the warehouse we'll have another series of workshops or assembly units, whatever you want to call them, which then will be our specific construction part 2 upgrader aiders. So here we go. We've now done ourselves over because I didn't unpause that. So I didn't pause that, so it means we've now got 9 people over our settlement, and it's therefore overcrowded, which has a massive indentation on the amount of unity we can earn. Let's get rid of all these. So these are the screens that essentially our beacon produces. So we've had 14 refugees join us that have then also brought 40 copper, 28 rubber, 13 scrap and 42 diesel. So we can just get rid of that and that will automatically import into our stockpile. So what we are going to have to do is, for the time being then, look at some buildings, housing, and we can pop that anywhere within that area. Again, they do take quite a bit of construction parts, 80 as you can see there. But with that, it also gives us housing, but it also increases the amount of waste produced. It'll also consume the food a lot quicker. So things like that just to bear in mind. So the rubber, get rid of that one. The rubber maker has no recipe selected. So within that, there's 2 choices. We can either make diesel, 12 diesel and 3 sulfur parts to make 18, or we make 8 diesel with 2 coal, and that produces 12 rubber, but also 4 waste water. So just because we haven't got any sulfur production just yet, we will hit the bottom one, and that will get our rubber making element sorted. So we've also now got our fuel station. For the time being, just because we haven't got any construction parts, I'm not going to put that down just yet. Alright, so that is working, brilliant. So now I've just selected the construction part, so what should happen is once everything that we've placed has been built, i.e. this, in fact, we can pause, in fact, we'll quick upgrade that one. So our construction part should start piling up in this building. And again, just to speed it up, I am just going to pop that back on there, deactivate that one. Right, so yeah, we've got 20 in there now. So these parts should be taken over here. Deselect that one. So now that's taking 6 of our construction parts, as well as 3 electronics. 60 seconds later gives us 3 construction parts. And once more, the tree harvester has nothing to harvest. So, just to open up a bit, I think we'll select that sort of area there. So here you can see the iron slabs depositing nicely on the outside there. Gives you a bit of an indication. Roughly 3/4 of obviously being full there. So the number there, 4, indicates 8 is now the amount that is stored internally. Bearing in mind we need 18 to upgrade these parts, so as soon as that gets to that 18 number, we will get there a bit quicker. So if we, for example, here use the boost, it's taking 0.25 unity, which we're still growing. It's 0.84. But what that now does is that will double the consumption on this side of the recipe, but also double the output. And it also reduces the electricity requirement too. So the reason, as I say, of increasing that is so we can hit that button there. That unit then becomes upgraded, and if I remove the boost, you can see already, so that will take 12 construction parts, 6 electrical parts, and that will produce 6 construction parts, as opposed to the 6, 3 and 3. 12, 6 and 6. So again, you can also theoretically boost that, which will then take 24 construction parts, 12 electronics, and give you 12. But for the time being, we don't need to do that. So what we'll do, again, we can upgrade this just so that this can start bolstering the amount of construction parts we've got. That should start to build up a nice healthy stockpile. So our maintenance is good. Wood, not so. I've got no real idea why. Presumably because the wood there is so high as it is. But again, what we can do to help this, if there's a bit of a spike in demand for wood, we can just plonk one of these down here, open that up, and put wood there. That way the wood units will automatically start filling that up. What we don't need at this stage now is to have so many wood trucks assigned, so that will hopefully ease the burden. on the rest of the society. So again, the coal's full. Research is also completed now, so we'll go with the captain's office. Closely followed, I think, by our groundwater pump. So that should be consuming the wood nicely. Although this is fairly close to the warehouse for the time being, it's not too far. But again, that will just keep that nice and tidy. So what I will look to do now is this side we can perhaps quick deliver on that, and we are going to be starting to produce our construction parts here as opposed to now there, just so we can really start to build up our construction parts, because this also will start to consume the construction parts. So we need to realistically produce more construction parts 1 than our construction parts 2 starts to eat. And as you can see, when we move on to construction parts 3, so on and so forth, our demand on all these sort of backward chain elements is somewhat of a thing. So what would be nice is to perhaps show you very quickly. I'm conscious we've been streaming for some time and I don't even know if you can even hear me. So what I'll do is, for example, we can go conveyor belt there and conveyor belt there. That'll automatically now reduce the amount of trucks that need to come and transport from, say, here to the warehouse. And again, we can do the same with our coal. I just like to quick deliver these things. So that's it. The metal caster now will automatically dispense into that, and we can go from there. So again, same principle applies. We can go bang, 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 and then again there to there. Just do that, and then as if by magic, they'll start producing and filling up the construction parts. So what we will do is we'll also build another storage unit down here for the construction parts 2. And we'll just set that up so we know what it's all for. And again, just because we've now unlocked the technology, it'd be rude not to, we can put on our conveyor belts there. So that'll automatically now offload into this warehouse. So the captain's office, again, not necessarily a relevant place to have any, you doesn't need access or connections to anything, so it can be anywhere you can see fit. So somewhere, for example, there is good enough for me. What that actually then enables is, as we progress and unlock various things, is to add different bonuses, if you like. So for example, at the cost of 1 unity point, vehicles will consume 15% less fuel. and also maintenance reducer, etc. We can also growth boost, as well as offer plenty of food in exchange of additional, in exchange for additional Unity points. One thing I did say we was going to look at popping in, and we haven't as yet, is the fuel depot. So fuel station just there. And again, we can just plonk that just there. Quick build on that one with one truck. And we will just pop in our pipe there so we can start getting up the reserves. And that just enables then all the excavators to remain pretty much in post, and the mobile truck will go out delivering the fuel. And again, that's filling up nicely then with the diesel. We'll just return that back to normal time. Right, so, now we are in a bit of a problem. So that thing I told you not to do earlier on, I've just done it. So we have no bricks. And the issue is, we have no bricks, and we have no construction parts. So I hear you say, how are we going to fix that? Well, what we can do is we put the water part up here earlier on, because we've got the water as well as the coal. So what we can and will do here is we can plonk that somewhere about there. In fact, what I will do is go there. I'm going to delete that. We'll go there, rotate, flip. And the reason for that is obviously so we can get all the pipes neat and tidy. So we'll put the coal there. We'll put the water at the highest elevation there. All the way down and select Brill. So that requires 50 construction parts. So this is why I said earlier on it's good to have this item here. Although we've not actually deployed the ship, which is also not a good start. So fuel for the ship, we always need to keep that full. And then we'll load the crew. So once the fuel trucks come and load up the ship, which as you can see they're starting to do there already, we'll be able to send it on a bit of a mission. And then once we find a village, hopefully that'll give us the option to buy bricks. Right, so the fuel's there. Let's send it. In fact, right, we will send the ship to one of these unknown islands off the ship departs. Hopefully, I didn't see this earlier on, but we have got one village then that we're quite acquainted with. So what I can see already here is for 20 wood and 0.5 Unity point per trade will give us 20 bricks. So again, we'll hit that a couple of times. What then that sort of means is that we've got 40 bricks on the trading dock, and in short they'll be taken from the trading dock to our assembly points, where it will then make 12. But obviously we need 50 at least, so we're going to need to go and do that another time. So one thing to bear in mind, this is only a quick fix. The more and more you trade, the more and more expensive things get. So obviously initially it was only 20 wood for 20 bricks, where it's now 25, so just bear that in mind. But again, we've got 60 now, so that should be enough. Research is all dry, so we'll look at, there's nothing. Yeah, we'll do the balancing and then we'll do the settlement. I am just going to have to take a very quick comfort break, but I'll be back shortly. Right, so here we go. Hopefully now the trucks have emptied, which they have. So we should begin to see more construction parts being made, as if by magic. Just there, look. You can see that the ship has now reached its destination. It's picked up some bits and bobs, rubber, copper, vehicle parts, etc. Because this is only a short stint from the home island to this location, we should be able to go to this next island. There we go. So we'll send that on its way, and then after that, the ship will pretty much be out of fuel, so it'll have to return back to fuel it once more. So now, whilst we're waiting for this, what we need to do is pause this, because otherwise what will happen is this will start consuming all of the construction parts, and in which case we'll be short once more. So I should have done that a bit earlier on. So it's already taken 15, so 35 construction parts left. We've got 20 in there. So that's already out. That's about to be out. And that's on its last lot. So that should give me 30. So hopefully that should mean we've just got enough. So again, this truck is still going to be taking these parts over to the brickworks. But again, what we'll do is we'll get another excavator on the go. And the reason for that is we can start digging out some of this dirt over here, because obviously we're going to have to feed the brickworks with some sort of dirt. So that's needing another 9, 5 there. 9. Okay, so we have got enough just. So whilst we have, we shall continue with the construction part 2 making. We'll just give the tree harvester a bit more scope to start flattening land. So once that's given us another 4 construction parts there. Right, so that wants us to have another 30. So let's. So this is the issue now. We've now got to wait for this to start building up. And I already know what we haven't done. We haven't put a smokestack on there, so that's another 10 construction parts. Very expensive, all these things. Just for the time being, we'll trade once more with that. So that gives us another 20 bricks to crack on with. So that should enable some more construction parts to come through. Brilliant. So that's going to start building up those. That's another 5. Oh, don't say that. So yeah, what I don't want to happen is we don't have enough construction parts to finish off the smokestack, because otherwise we're back in the situation then where the exhaust is full and that won't produce any more. So I'll have to buy even more bricks. So I'm just hoping we'll put a boost on that, just so we can try and get a few more bricks. And saying that, we're not going to have dirt, so I'm going to remove that. For the time being, we'll tell it to mine the dirt, and then we can put that on there, so that should go looking for the dirt. Within that area, and in which case should enable us to make some more bricks. Right, so now we are to capacity with the exhaust, but we should have 16 bricks. So hopefully we'll have the truck bring the bricks to the plant, and we should have some more bits and the bobs. As long as we get 3 construction parts made, that will finish the smokestack. There we go, we can go bang, bang. That will then begin to empty the smoke, ready for the next cycle. So the next 8 lot of construction parts should be sufficient enough to open up the unit storage. But already, as you can see now, we are starting to lose our mechanical part thingy-bobbies. So to combat that, in lieu of us having any construction parts so far, is I'm just going to disable the construction bits and I'll just activate the mechanical parts. That should start to build up the maintenance, because what we don't want is the trucks and stuff to essentially grind to a halt, which is exactly what will happen. And what I didn't want to happen there is exactly that, so we'll delete that very quickly. That there, we shall request that trucks remove the product from the belt, otherwise it will clog it up. They'll be taken over there, and already, look, that should start to produce the relevant mechanical parts / maintenance. So yeah, still waiting for the bricks by the looks of things. And it's the biggest thing here is the dirt. How many points? That's 24 a control tower. So again, I am just going to place the control tower there because we need to move the excavator to this area really to start digging out the soil, because at the minute these trucks are tied up thinking that they need coal, which clearly isn't the case. So we send that to dirt. This one now can, oh, it's okay, sorted, bang. But obviously we just need to create the construction parts. So I think what I'll do is, as soon as I've got the mine set up here, mine control tower, I think I'll end the stream there. And obviously we can pick up on the next available stream as to where we left off. See, these are those silly sort of death spirals that I was referring to earlier on. Very tricky to get out of at times. And again, just to speed things up, I'm just going to go and buy a few more bricks at the cost of a few pieces of timber, just so we can get the construction element sorted. Because what should happen then, once the construction side's all sorted, we'll go there, prioritise. Once we've got the 20 sorted, that'll enable us to start levelling out this area here, in which case we'll have some dirt to throw into the brick machine. Yeah, starting to come through thick and fast there, look now. I just need 3 more. Here we go. There we go. We're just going to drag that across there. So that should start mining out all that dirt. And there we are. I'm going to put 2 trucks on it for the time being. And I'll perhaps just get 2 more trucks delivered. So once that fills up nicely, we should be in a much stronger position then to start getting some more bricks, which will be really useful. There we go, look. So our maintenance now is gradually improving, which is good. The only thing we need to be mindful of now is obviously our copper supplies are in order. So at some point soon we will have to set up a copper production plant so that we can turn our copper into like electronics and cables, that sort of thing. So we could do with perhaps a another assembly plant here, just to speed up those construction places, elements, things. Because we're now starting to see the increase, which is good. But as I say, the construction part 2 will start eating these considerably fast. Okay, so I think what I'll do there is I'm going to pause there. I'm going to end the stream. Obviously, we didn't have anyone join us today, but hopefully, if I've managed to do things correctly, this stream is all recorded. So hopefully, we can publish on YouTube for anyone to catch up at a later date. But if you are tuning in for the first time, like I say, I do appreciate if you would hit the subscribe and like button. This is my first live stream and only my 4th video. I'm by means no expert, but hopefully I'm looking to grow a community where we can all share various things. Ultimately, I do like simulations and these sort of games where it comes to economy, strategy, those sort of things. So I'll certainly be playing a lot more throughout the year as we go on. But as ever, if you are able to be so kind and like and subscribe, it'll hopefully enable me to grow the channel and deliver bigger and better content as things and times goes by. Ultimately, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day. Thank you. Goodbye.